I need your help. I have a little problem. Live Sound Summit just went live, but on the schedule, I have a few talks that don't have titles. So here I've got Ken Pooch van Druten, talk title, TBD. And so anytime you see that TBD, to be determined, that's because we are still thinking about what should he teach? What should he talk about? What should his talk title be? So I would love for you to comment on this video. What do you think Ken Pooch van Druten should talk about? What do you want to learn from him? If you could have like a private 2-hour training just with you and Pooch, what would you ask him to teach you? What questions would you ask? What is a challenge that you're currently having with your mixing or your mixer that you would love his help with? So please comment on this video and let me know, or send me a private message if you would rather do that. We've also got Robert Scoville, TBD. What do you want Robert Scoville to teach you? This is the question people always ask me when I ask them to join me at Live Sound Summit. So I say, hey, Robert, do you want to teach at this year's Live Sound Summit? And then he'll always say, sure, what do you want me to talk about? And then I take a look at his YouTube channel and I see that he has lots of videos and lots of them are popular, but they're all from like 5 or 6 years ago. So it's hard to tell which ones are currently like the most sort of urgent or interesting or engaging. So same question about Robert Scoville. If you could have a private training with Robert, what would you want Robert to talk to you about? What would you want him to teach you? And the same thing with Michelle Petinado. If you could have a training with Michelle, what would you ask her? What's a challenge with your kind of front of house mixing or your mixer or your setup right now or your sound that you would love her help with? Same thing with Stephen Pavlik, except in this case it's monitors and RF. So probably a lot of you know that Stephen Pavlik has an online course called Real World RF Troubleshooting. So he is very experienced in not only setting up and coordinating RF, but also troubleshooting in the field. He even builds his own antennas and he fixes antennas. He has a side business doing that. So what do you want Stephen Pavlik to talk about? What would be a really great sort of theme for him to focus in on, or a question? Stephen's also really great at doing live demos, as are the rest of these people. If you've seen previous summits with Ken, he does great mixing demos, as does Robert. Robert always has fun like multi-camera setups where you can see like from above him, in front of him, you can see his screen, all this stuff. Okay, so what sort of RF topic would you want Stephen to talk about? I'm sure he already has some ideas, but if you have something that is feeling like urgent or important to you right now in the world of RF, what would be a good thing for Stephen to cover? Okay, who else is missing a title? So we've got Amanda Davis. What would you like Amanda to talk about? And so if you want to know more about Amanda, we can go over here to her profile. So Amanda is a woman of many talents, Memphis-born, LA-based. I'm not going to read her whole bio here for you, but you can take a look at that if you're not familiar with her yet, and see what you might like Amanda to talk about at this year's summit. Oh man, it goes on and on. Check that out. Okay. Back over here in the schedule, our last TBD is Dave Ratt. So a lot of people requested that Dave Ratt be at this year's summit. He's probably our #1 most requested speaker this year and teacher. And Dave Ratt always has the same question for me too, because there are so many things he could talk about. But he really wants to do something that's going to be interesting and engaging for those of you who will be attending the summit this year. So for all of you who requested that he be on the schedule this year, what were you thinking? What sort of made you want to request Dave Ratt? What is a question you would love to ask him if you could have a private training with him? Maybe there's a video that he published recently. He's been publishing videos about IMs. What else? I'm trying to think of his YouTube channel. Well, for those of you who have been watching his videos, you're familiar with the things he's been publishing about recently. So maybe there was one video that really caught your eye and you really wish he would talk more about. So take a look at the schedule, see the talk titles that still have TBDs, and then send me your suggestions and I'll pass them along to the presenters. Or if you know these people, feel free to, contact them themselves, contact them yourself. If you know Pooch or you watch his videos, you can comment on his videos and say, hey, this is the video that I want you to talk about at this year's Live Sound Summit. So I'm definitely fans of all these teachers as well, but I don't always want to be the one who decides who's going to be teaching, because I'm an avid student as well, but the specific things that I want to ask about are not necessarily the things that you want to ask about. So, for example, Robert Scoville has already talked a lot about manual delay compensation, but I would want him to talk about that even more. But he's covered that pretty well, not only at last year's summit, but in previous YouTube videos that he's published. And he has this thing called the lab. Anyway, maybe he's covered that enough and you want him to talk about something else instead this year. Okay, so let me check and see what comments we have so far. People are saying hi, hello. Oh, Marcus is saying that Dave Rat's session for him will be at 3 a.m. Yeah, sorry about that. So we had to give Dave Rat the last time on the schedule because he will be traveling. He has something like a long 24 hours of traveling, of flights and stuff. So I think he's going to get back either that day or the day before. And so we had to put him at the end of the schedule just to make sure that everything would work. People saying hi. Hi, everybody. Okay, cool. So no specific comments yet, but hopefully for people who are watching this video later, if you have ideas for some of these talk titles or just a question that you would ask one of these people, that could be enough to really, set up a topic or really, help these presenters figure out what they should be presenting on. And it might not be a presentation. Maybe you just want them to do a demo, or maybe you want them to organize a panel. And have a couple other people talk about whatever, the future of the industry. How do you stack subwoofers to the highest height possible? I don't know. Now I'm just making stuff up. Okay. So thanks for tuning into this video. As you can see, we have a few talk titles in the schedule that still don't have titles. Sorry, a few talks on the schedule that still don't have titles. So comment on this video and let me know what you want. All right. Thanks, everybody.